Today I'm going to open up this box that's been in my shed for nearly a year. It's a portable DC refrigerator that you use in your truck or car, camping, over-the-road truck driving, maybe even on a houseboat or something like that. I don't even know who makes it. I've had it for a year. It was a gift. I haven't got around to using it yet. We're moving into fall and winter camping, and this is something I want to take along with me on those trips. So all I know about it, looking at the side, is a model CR50. I looked that up and I couldn't find anything that stood out on the internet about model CR50 refrigerators. I'm sweating. Okay, so it opens up from the top. It's got a lot of room inside it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up this box and see what's in here. I'm guessing it's going to be some power cables and maybe some other little supporting pieces of equipment, hopefully the manual. Do a little reading about it. My plan is to put some beverages in here, plug this into the Jackery, and see how long it takes for those beverages to get cold, and then see how long it actually runs on the Jackery until the Jackery reaches its low voltage point. Give me a little bit of idea of what I need to power this for a weekend. It's got plenty of room. I'm guessing this is going to be kind of a freezer part, the really cold part, and this is the cool part. I don't know much about these. I got to learn a little bit. I'm hoping this box here is going to be the power supply and some instructions that I could sit down and read for as long as I could stand it. And it looks like we've got some ideal temperatures for storing. It says alcohol at 55 degrees. I don't think I'm going to agree with that. And let's see, we've got some information about the wattage. Looks like it's a max 60 watts. Pulls 7.9 amps versus 3.7 amps. That probably has to do with 12 volts at 7.9 amps, 24 volts at 3.7 amps. That's actually not too bad. It should be able to power that for quite a while. That's the power cable with a cigarette lighter adapter. That's cool. That's what's inside this box. Okay, cool. So I do have an AC power adapter. I was looking at the box and the package. I didn't think it would come with a AC plug. Ah, cool. Helpful. And a DC plug. So be able to plug it into a car cigarette lighter, or if you have one of a power bank like a Jackery, have a cigarette adapter in it. Oh great, things. What the hell those go to? Those look like installation of car refrigerator for fixed hand. Oh, handles! Hey, that's helpful. I guess those mount right there. I'll put those on right after I read the manual. Taking a look at the inside of this thing, it's quite large. At 42 quarts, there's plenty of room. This basket comes out, this divider comes out. It's got this dual zone in here that I don't really understand. This is supposed to be a cool side and this is a frozen side, I guess, if you set the temperatures right. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be. But my thought is, if you set this to a freezer temperature, like 20 degrees or something like that, that this would eventually be cool like a refrigerator in the 30s or 40s. Something to check out later on. It's got a little light here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put some warm beverages in here, some canned beverages in here to kind of put some strain on the system, plug it into the Jackery, and see how long it takes to cool down, and then hopefully see how long it'll actually last on the Jackery. This switch here is a low voltage cutoff selector. And as I understand it, if you have this plugged into your car and you want to make sure you don't kill your car battery, if it's like in a parking lot or something like that, then you could set this to automatically shut off at a higher voltage, which would be if your car battery drops down to 11.3 volts. Or if you want to throw caution to the wind and set it to low, you can see if your car will start after you drain your battery down to 9.6 volts. But it's kind of a little bit of a safety protection if it works, to make sure that you don't kill your starting battery on your vehicle, or maybe whatever battery you have lying around. You don't want to drain it all the way down. That's actually kind of, if it works, that's a pretty good idea. All right, I've got 6 warm beverages in there. See how long it takes before they're cold enough to enjoy. I've got it set to 38 degrees, so they shouldn't freeze on this side, if what I've read is correct. I'm going to put my thermometer, my Maverick grilling thermometer, in here. So, you're supposed to hold this button down for 3 seconds, and that'll make it power on, and that actually worked. This value currently is what is inside the refrigerator, what the temperature is inside the refrigerator. This was sitting out in my shed overnight, so it's probably still pretty cold from being outside. And I felt that when I put my hands inside it after I opened it up. Then we should be able to press these buttons to adjust the temperature that we want. Then the manual says, verbatim, touch the plus key for a long time. Okay. And we should be able to adjust the temperature that we want. I'm going to set it to 38 degrees. And then see if this actually starts to cool. So, I have it set to 38 degrees. I hear motors running, so something must be working. And the Jackery is currently drawing at 57 watts. That's near max that was listed on the manual. So we'll see how long this actually lasts. I've got my clock, my remote display for the Maverick is right now showing 50 degrees. The Jackery, which is now down to 98% in these couple of minutes, so it's definitely working hard to get that thing down to the selected temperature. My guess is once it gets that temperature, it'll slow down the draw quite a bit. We're already up to 63 watts, so it's drawing a lot to get this thing down to a decent temperature. Right now, the cooler just kicked itself off, so the compressor just stopped running, so it reached its set point of 37 degrees. Something I've noticed, and added all 4 temperature sensors to the cooler, and the 37 in the lower right, that's at the bottom of the cooler. So that matches surprisingly well with the temperature sensor that is on the display. And these two here at the top, the 40 and the 45, they're at the top of the cooler, up in the rack on the sides. So that's a decent difference from the bottom to the top. And it's starting to stabilize a little bit. And then in the lower left-hand corner, that temperature probe is in the refrigeration box at 66 degrees. That I hope to see come down over time, because I wouldn't want to keep much food in that portion if that's all it's going to be. I mean, that's 26 degrees difference between the two. That's not very good. So I'm going to keep letting this thing run. Right now we're at 94% for the Jackery, drawing right now a very minimum 2 watts. Be interested to see what it draws when it kicks back on in a few minutes. Little over 2 hours, 87% on the Jackery, and this thing's doing really well. Decent temperatures on the thermometer. And I imagine by about 5 o'clock I'm going to have some cold beer. Alright, checking in. 79%. Been at it for several hours now. Temperature's pretty low. See how long it goes. Getting late. I think there's something wrong with this this sensor. I don't think we could trust that one anymore. I don't believe it's 559 degrees But look at this. 62%. I bet tomorrow morning I'll wake up and this thing will still be working. This will be running the Jackery. I'm going to let it run. Tell you what I am going to do. I've been waiting on these for a while. That's plenty cold. Well, it's the next day. This thing is still running strong, 55%. I imagine it's going to run till, if I had to guess, sometime this afternoon before it shuts off. Alright folks, checking in here. See what we got now. It is still at 41%. I mean, it's the next day. We're into 24 hours on this. The temperatures are holding just fine. This thing's exceeding my expectations. I'm going to keep it going. I want to see how long it'll last on the Jackery. I imagine it's going to be sometime after dinner tonight before this thing finally quits. It's impressive. Alright, checking in. This has been pretty eye-opening. I'm down to 20%. I'm going to shut this thing down. So it is now, I mean, we're well into the next day, and this thing's still operating, but I am down to 20%. So I'm going to just shut this down just to conserve the Jackery. Set point is still at 39 degrees. I started at 37. I did increase it yesterday at some point in time, just to see if I extend the life of the battery. Still got my beverages in there. They're plenty cold. It's about to have one because it is about 8 o'clock at night. That clock's an hour off. And do a final closing here. Definitely exceeded my expectations with the Jackery. So it's Monday afternoon, just got back from work. I shut this down about 10 o'clock last night. So the Jackery ran the cooler, the refrigerator, for 35 to 36 hours before getting down to about 10% when I finally cut it off about 10 o'clock last night. So I started at about 10:30 Sunday morning, and it ran till 10 o'clock, 10:30 Saturday morning, and it ran till 10 o'clock Sunday night. That's pretty impressive. And the Jackery, the 500 watt Jackery, exceeded my expectations. The refrigerator definitely exceeded my expectations. It's 42 quarts. I mean, you got plenty of room. You could set it to be a freezer or a refrigerator. I set it at 38 degrees. I bumped it up to 39, and it maintained that temperature the entire time. After I shut the Jackery off, it slowly came up to temperature, but it took about an hour or more before it crossed the 40 degree threshold. So it actually held its temperature for a little while. But that's inside. I'm going to revisit this. I have a 100 amp hour deep cycle battery and an inverter that I want to see how long this will last. Mostly because I'm in a hurricane area. I get a lot of hurricanes, and I could lose power for several days. It'd be nice to have something that I don't have to tax the generator to run, and I can run other things with the generator, just power it with my deep cycle battery. If I wanted to get this to last for a whole weekend, I bet you I could. I bet if, let's say I was leaving Friday, Thursday, I packed this cooler with everything I wanted, plugged it into the wall outlet, and ran it for the night. So everything inside of it was cold, the refrigerator was cold, then plugged it in my car cigarette lighter when I'm traveling to my campsite, so ran it the entire time, got to the campsite, and then switched it over to the Jackery. Everything inside it being cold and it being ready to roll, and I kept it out of the sunlight. I could see this maintaining a cold temperature to keep food safe until I left Sunday. I'm pretty confident with the 500 watt Jackery that would work. So with a deep cycle battery, something that has more amp hours than a Jackery, or even a 1,000 watt Jackery if you got the money for that, it certainly can last several days. I'm very impressed with this. There are some few negatives. One is this latch. It doesn't
it doesn't click very easily. You have to really put some pressure on it to get it to click. And there is the dual chamber in here, the cold side and basically a warm side. The warm side never got above, or never got below 75 degrees. So if you wanted to keep something cold in there, it's not going to stay very cold at all. But other than that, if I was, I have a homemade camper that doesn't have a refrigerator. This is going inside that homemade camper, and that's gonna work out for me great. So if you were living in a van or a truck, a homemade camper, teardrop or something like that, this is an excellent addition. If you're an over-the-road truck driver, I really hope you have one of these inside your truck. They make different sizes. This is one of the larger ones, a little bit smaller one, but man, it's pretty impressive. Anyway, thanks for watching.